Alright, everybody. Sorry, I got a pick in my mouth. Hold on here. So, this is my Systech Overdrive. I'm assuming one last video on this. I don't think I'm going to be doing any more after this. This is what I'm calling the final version. So, it doesn't look any different from the outside from the last video I made. The big difference is I changed the potentiometer value again for the treadle. So the EQ, again, it's a treadle on this, meaning, like a wah. And the original schematics for the Systech, the Overdrive, is a 5K reverse audio taper. So I got myself a 5K audio taper and a 5K linear taper. I've been playing around with both of them. The audio taper seems to be the best. It seems to be the smoothest. The linear taper works fine. However, it's more jerky. I feel like you're jumping a little bit, which I don't like. I'd rather have that smoother transition. So, the sound should be the same. You shouldn't be hearing anything different, really. There's probably a slight change in the frequency curve, but honestly, unless you have tools to look at this, like an oscilloscope, most people are not going to hear it. So, again, we'll do a clean signal here. Yep. We have all. Do we have? Yep. Volumes are turned up. Gains turned up. So what I like about this is you don't use it as a wah. You could, but that's not what it's really designed for. It's designed almost the way I'm picturing this is volume swells, or not volume swells, but tone swells, EQ swells. So. So. So again, the biggest drawback to the setup is you don't get the movement, the range out of a regular tone control. There's a lot more bottom end that if you manipulate with the pot manually, so if I remove the gear, the rack and pinion mechanism, and you turn it, there's a much darker, deeper, I guess, EQ response. But you have to make a compromise with this. So you either get the really low end or you get the really high end. And I actually pulled the top end off a little bit. So, and this could go for almost any wah pedal, unless you're dealing with like a Morley where it's all optical. But you can actually adjust your sweep range a little bit by turning the gear. So essentially what you would do is you open up your wah pedal, you take the screw out, or you back out the screw that holds the it's called a clutch, but it's a white thing. On this it's actually a black plastic spring, I guess you call it, and that puts pressure on the rack and pinion assembly. So if you unscrew that, just back out a little bit, you move the clutch out of the way, and then you pull the rack back, you could manually turn the pinion gear with the potentiometer. So if you feel that your wah pedal's a little too bright, you could actually bring it down a little bit and warm it up slightly by turning that, and then you'll get the lower range. Now there's other ways of doing it. Obviously, you put in different capacitors, different resistors, you'll revoice it. But that's, an easy trick if your wah is just too, bright, or obviously if it's too dark for you. You could do the exact same opposite way, as long as you have the space to move it. So it's still a potentiometer, which means it has a limit. I think most potentiometers have like a 270 degree turning radius. A wah pedal is only going to get you about 60 degrees or something like that. You're losing a lot. But one thing I noticed with the audio taper, I put it on my multimeter, the bottom end, there's not a huge change on the bottom end for probably the first 5 to 10 degrees, and then on the top end, the top 2-3 degrees, there's no change. So you minus that, you take away, say, 15 degrees, and now you still have a lot of degrees that are getting lost there, but it works a little bit better. Whereas a linear taper, all of that is used. So there are tricks out there by putting resistors in there, and the resistor would allow the sweep to happen a little bit quicker. It's still not expanding anything. Another thing you could do is you could take a trim pot and use the trim pot inside, or you could probably even put another pot, somewhere on the outside if you wanted to. And then that'll give you the ability of adding a little bit more tonal range. So instead of going straight from the treadle pot, you'd go from this treadle pot to a trim pot or an external pot, and then that'll give you a little bit more range that you could adjust. So that's an idea too, which I don't want to go that complex. I like having my pedals that are plug them in and play and have fun. I don't need all this other junk that you have to open it up and you have to change this, you have to do that, you have to pull out this, you have to put in a different whatever. I like a pedal that I could just plug and play. So if we roll back this a little bit, we'll leave the volume all the way up. We will roll back the distortion a little bit. Honestly, with this pedal, I almost don't see a need to have a drive or a gain or a volume. I just crank them all. If I was going to do this again, I'd probably do it that way and just hardwire everything. And maybe that's where you use trim pots. But obviously, I made this for myself. I didn't make this for, a customer. If the customer wanted it this way, fine, fair enough. Again, I'm not making this as a regular production product. And I'm just rolling the volume back on the guitar now. And that's just in a single coil mode there. That's a treadle all the way back. And that's a treadle all the way forward. Get that spiky, like, bam. That hits you hard. I like that. And then again, because the potentiometer itself is so stiff, you just set it wherever you want. So we could leave it like that. Want it a little bit brighter? Maybe want a little darker? So anyway, I just want to show you what the last version of this is going to look like, or what it's going to sound like, more or less. And I don't think I'm going to be making any more changes to it. I like it the way it is. The only change I might do, and this is a big if I could find a 10K potentiometer. So the previous potentiometer that was in there was a 50K. When I first built it, I had a 25K, and honestly, the 25K sounded really good. However, the 25K was not up to spec to be used in a treadle. It was a volume pot, I believe, out of a Panasonic or an Alpine stereo that I found in a dumpster. So we're really good potentiometer for an audio circuit. It's made by a company called Alps, which I think is Alpine's OEM brand or something like that. And, well made in Japan back in probably the 70s, but it could not hold up to the abuse of using it as a treadle. So, again, we have a J-pot. We have an Allen Bradley J-pot, or a J-type pot, which is a military spec pot. It's a 5K audio taper. I might try to find an Allen and Bradley J-type or Type J, whatever it is, 10K audio pot, and give that a whirl. Again, the biggest challenge to this whole entire build is finding that potentiometer. If we weren't going to put this into a treadle, we were just going to put this into a regular enclosure and perhaps put on an expression port, then no issues whatsoever. That's a lot easier to do. But again, I wanted to do something different because that's already out there. You could buy that today. I wanted this to be in one pedal and not have to deal with a secondary pedal. Excuse me. So, anyway, that's that. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, I don't plan on making any more of these. I think this is going to be a one and done kind of thing. But again, if you really want one and you're dying for one and you have a wah pedal that you could care less about, you want me to hack up and do this to, sure, we could do it. But other than that, this is going to be my own personal amusement, and I'm just going to have fun with it. And yeah, I mean, I love just. So there you have it. Thanks all for watching. Like I said, got any questions, leave them in the comments. Yeah, and this fills the need of my, I guess, fuzz wah collection that I'm slowly growing. Now I have one of my own that I put my stamp on. Even though it's not a fuzz wah, it comes close to one. So thanks for watching.